All right, everyone, we start off today talking a little bit about something that happened on Timcast the other day. Yes, Tim Pool got an interview with Donald Trump, so it's a pretty big thing. And he really netted the big one on that. Not a big surprise. Trump is trying to do a tech workaround with creators and people that are mainly online and associated with the internet and stuff, because, I mean, he can't get a fair shake from the legacy media. So you go on a show that has multiple times the actual audience of some CNN slot, you could definitely do worse. Yeah, we should try to get him on the quartering broadcast or something. Hell, maybe he'd do a podcast with me and get more fair coverage, that's for sure. And it doesn't matter where he shows up, people will tune in. He mentioned that he was seriously considering a pardon for Julian Assange. Let me try to parse this apart. I think that he leans in favor of pardoning Julian Assange. I genuinely believe that. It would be a huge optical win for him and a real big thumbing of the nose at the establishment. But he's not going to come out and sign a promissory note saying, if elected, I'm guaranteed to pardon this individual. He's not going to do what he's doing with Ulbricht, for example, the Silk Road founder. Somehow the dude who founded a website that was actually, peddling heroin and shit like that, fewer independent voters have a problem with that than the concept of Assange being pardoned. And that's because they've been lied to and fooled into believing, not all people, or even necessarily most of them, but some of the electorate, has been fooled into believing that Julian Assange is a Russian asset. Well, that's a little bit of a sticking point for Trump, too. He's been nailed in the same sense by the same legacy media. Really, what Julian Assange did was investigative journalism. He did not directly handle much of the information that was going through WikiLeaks. I would note WikiLeaks is still in operation. Somehow they haven't been charged despite all of this espionage and shit they supposedly were involved in. Now, they went after Julian Assange as the linchpin of it, partially because he is a public figure. He's a charismatic central figure of note that was charismatic enough to rally people to the cause and say, hey, wake up, your governments are doing screwy shit. I would note they did release material on the Russian government that was embarrassing to the Kremlin as well, but I'm supposed to believe they're a Kremlin asset. Well, I don't believe that. They did the same thing with James O'Keefe, of course. They came for him when he became too dangerous because he is a central figure that a lot of people paid attention to, as opposed to, you look at like the legacy media. Nobody's paying attention to the random staffers and stuff. You've got a few heavy hitters that sort of carry the cable channel or something. If they get taken out, then the network begins to collapse. They have problems. They did it to O'Keefe. They're doing it to Julian Assange as well. I support pardoning him, but I do not believe that Trump is going to explicitly promise to us that will happen until he's elected. Now, once he's elected, what does he have to lose? He can't run for re-election. Former presidents typically don't end up in any other position except for a handful, like Taft became a Supreme Court justice, for example. It's rather uncommon. Typically, after being president for a couple of terms, no longer eligible for that highest of offices, typically they go off and they do charity work, or they do business, or they wait in the wings as a political surrogate and do, the political cronyist stuff. We'll see which one Trump chooses. If you're Jimmy Carter, you say, fuck this shit, and then you go and build houses and kill parasitic worms. By the way, he's still alive. His grandson twice now has said he's on death's doorstep, but he's still kicking. I'm convinced that he's immortal till the last guinea worm is dead. Then he'll drop off 10 minutes later. I believe that a pardon is an idea that would be good. Because WikiLeaks is investigative journalism. I would note that it wasn't until the chilling effect that Obama had on the legacy media, because he was an id poll president, if anyone tried to investigate him and dig up wrongdoing during his administration, the insinuation that he would make and others would make was that they were being racist, or that they were far-right extremists that are trying to help the terrorists or something like that. And Bush, did this less effectively, although he did sort of incept the basic premise. You'll remember that. You ain't patriotic if you's trying to criticize me. Yeah, I did an oopsie poopsie and just killed 1,000 people. But if you investigate me, then you hate America and all this bullshit. They're doing actual investigative journalism. Used to be that groups like Reuters and the AP, CNN, Fox, all these, they did investigative journalism. And let's not kid ourselves, it does have an implicit and explicit bias. You're back in the Gilded Age. You're a gumshoe. You know, you wear your duster and your fedora, and you're trying to investigate corruption in among coal barons or something. Well, the coal baron that runs the area around your publishing firm probably is not the one that you want to fuck with. And or the one that has bought you off because they're paying into your publishing. Hey, I love your paper. You're pretty talented. How would you like some investment here? Yeah, by the way, come see my new coal works. Just don't report on those slaves over there. That might upset people. No, you go after their enemy, and that's always been a thing. It's always been politically lopsided. It's always been socially lopsided. Sometimes there's an ethnic or a religious affiliation as well. You know, some small town, populist newspaper versus, this is the paper for the Irish immigrants that just came into farm or something like that. But Julian Assange has done genuine investigative journalism, facilitating that so that whistleblowers and leakers can tell people what's actually going on. I'm sorry, but I don't see it as sinful in any way, shape, or form for the public to be informed about what public officials are doing. I'm pretty sure that's the whole point, having some degree of transparency, and you can't really make rational political decisions, whether it's voting or civics or activism of any sort, unless you know pretty much what's going on. Government has become very opaque in the modern age. It's funny. We've got more transparency than ever for the general public because of the digital age. People whore themselves out on Instagram all the time. Oh my God, this is... there are people out there, what they had for breakfast, lunch, and dinner. With live updates, in spectacular high-definition quality. This is what I just ate. They talk about here's the composition of the shit that I just took. With politicians and people like that, they're constantly trying to go in the other direction and make the machinations of government as opaque as possible. That's because they're corrupt. Yeah, I mean, clearly they're trying to hide something. We were always told, hey, why would you care if the government spies on you, the NSA or whatever? Why would you care unless you've got something to hide? They should spy on you twice as hard, because quite clearly, if we don't go through people's dirty laundry and their garbage all the time, America will fall apart. The land of the free will be less free because of freedom is basically their slogan. Never really applies to government, though. And it's just like I always say, it's an old Vermont proverb. Probably not originated in Vermont, but it's listed officially. That the law is like a spider's web. The flies are caught and the wasps go free. When you go after the wasps explicitly, as Julian Assange did, bad things can happen. It's difficult to stand for truth and for justice when the system itself is markedly corrupt. He did nothing wrong. I support it, and I believe that Donald Trump is likely to pardon him, but he has to get elected first. That's why he can't promise that he's going to pardon him. He has to keep that up in the air. Get people that want to pardon him enthused, and make it look like he's just deflecting for the people that don't want him pardoned. That way it doesn't become a big issue. That's about all. Peace out.